Hey folks, Dr. Mike Israetel here for Renaissance Periodization. Today's video is about how to increase the number of push-ups you can do when everything else has failed. When basic and even what I would call intermediate advice just hasn't really produced results for you, this is kind of like the tip of the spear of more advanced periodization to get your push-ups increased. Your problem here, which is why you're watching this video, is that you want to do more push-ups, but lately in the last several months, you haven't been able to add a single notch or just one push-up per several months, nothing great. And you want to do more push-ups. Maybe it's, you've been doing around 30 reps, but you want to be able to do around 35 reps of push-ups in a single set. Maybe it's you haven't been able to go from 15 reps to anything bigger in like a year. Maybe you're going from zero ever push-ups to finally your first push-up. We got all the answers in here for how to make the changes. And when I say conventional attempts have failed to produce results, I mean stuff like, first of all, just training hard. As if you go on YouTube comments, or you go on much of social media, and you ask, hey man, does anyone have any push-up tips? How do I get better push-ups? And someone's like, just train hard, bro. You're like, hey, thanks a lot. I'll go try that. You go try it. It doesn't work. A lot of times it does. In this case for you, it hasn't, which is why you still have a problem. You've already tried doing different grip positions for push-ups. Didn't seem to help. You've tried weighted push-ups. It's a common helping thing, a helpful suggestion. You've tried sets of 1 to 2 push-ups at a time. If you've only been able to do a few push-ups, and people say, oh, I'll just do sets of 1 to 2. You've tried eccentric push-ups where you lower yourself with your own power, but then you get on your knees to come back up. It can make getting in more quality work possible when you're just not very strong in push-ups. And you've tried partial push-ups, which is when you push up to a mat or something and you don't have to go as deep as normal. It essentially lifts your upper body off the ground. Your feet are still on the ground, so the angle is lower, so it's easier. You've tried these things individually, and they seem to have not produced results. So you want to improve your push-up ability, and you want to take a serious attempt at it. This video will be describing to you and giving you sample programming of what a serious attempt looks like. And it's going to take months to actually play out. And you could say, well, hold on, months? What the fuck? I gotta be better at push-ups like tomorrow or next week or next month. Certainly not months, plural. But the thing is because you've tried the conventional attempts, it's just not going to work for you to do a quick, easy trick. Quick, easy tricks usually work for people who kind of have their gains coming anyway, and they're doing something obviously wrong, like not training hard, but you're already doing that. So you're not doing anything obviously wrong. And at the end of the day, you need something effective to actually be able to use and chip away at whatever gains you have coming to you. I'll say this again in the end. You may not get a crap load of push-ups out of the scheme, but you'll very likely be able to hit some decent PRs. If you're not in the running for those PRs, if you don't really care, forward this video to someone you hate and then move along. Just kidding. Someone you love, someone you're totally neutral to. That's even better. Here's the outline of how this periodization structure is going to work. First, you're going to want to put on pushing muscle. What the hell does that mean? It means your chest, shoulders, and triceps are going to want to get bigger first. Why? Because a lot of the reason that people can't get better at push-ups is they've gotten very good technically at push-ups. Their nervous system has integrated their ability to do the push-up motion very athletically and very well, but they're just kind of out of raw material as far as force-generating capacity of muscle to do anything better. If you get like a V6 Honda Civic, my preferred vehicle of choice, of course, and you tune it all to shit, at some point you're getting the most you can out of a V6. And then if you're like, I still want to go faster, someone's going to be like, I think you need like a V8 or a V10, man. I think it's the end of the road here for the V6 that you're running. So a lot of people make kind of a mistake and say, hey, I want to get better at push-ups. And someone's like, hey, what about growing your pecs and triceps? They're like, no, I'm not a bodybuilder. I just want to do more push-ups. And it's like, you ever see people that can do a lot of push-ups? They generally have pretty stacked chest, shoulder, and triceps. That's not by accident. The second phase is for you to develop what's called basic strength and solid technique in push-ups, which is really, really important because, yes, you could have big and strong muscles, much like myself, of course, but you have to practice making sure that those muscles are performing as well as they can for the task of doing push-ups. So while you may use a variety of exercises to build your pecs in this first phase, the exercises you use to get your pecs ready to give you the best push-up result possible may be at least exercises that biomechanically load the pecs in a similar way, or the technique moves your body through a similar way. It's just more specificity. And lastly, you're going to want to take a little bit of a peaking phase, which usually lasts just a few weeks, maybe a month, to peak for push-ups specifically, because you don't want to like try to peak when you're not super ready. Imagine, you don't have to imagine. I've had people tell me this kind of stuff. Say, like, I tried doing a bunch of push-ups yesterday and I tried to go all the way to failure with good form and I can't PR. And I'm like, I gotcha. They're like, how did you warm up? They're like, well, I sort of didn't. I just kind of went and did them. Okay, that's fucking dumb. What was your training like in the last week? Like, well, actually, like the day before, I was like super, had an unbelievable chest and tricep workout. I'm like, okay, so you're sore and tired from chest and triceps. And you didn't warm up. And you were surprised that you couldn't do more push-ups. They're like, in retrospect, no, like exactly. So if you're going to do all this work of making your chest, shoulders, and triceps bigger, of taking those muscles and the nervous system, making them really good at doing push-ups, you might as well take that last peaking phase, which is the smallest fraction of the whole thing, and tailor your ability to perform push-ups and drop your fatigue in such a way that on that day that you're going to test your ability to do push-ups with good technique, you're going to put yourself in the best possible position to have a PR. Otherwise, it's kind of strange. When they get the whole space shuttle or whatever the fuck their Elon Musk rockets they're sending to space now, it takes like a fucking year to make one of them shits. It's not like they're like, all right, let's launch. And the guy's like, when? I don't know, Tuesday? Tuesday's fine. I'll check my phone. No, I got nothing going on. What's the weather like? Fuck it. It's not our satellite. Shoot it up there. Fucking thunderstorm knocks it out. It's $2 billion, just falls back down to Earth useless. They don't do shit like that. They plan ahead. They even check the weather to make sure it's going to be good, and they do a last call for the weather. Sure, you don't have to check the weather for your push-ups unless you're doing it outside in California, Muscle Beach. I suppose then you don't have to check the weather also because it's never rains in Southern California. And if you're into really, really good music, Google that. I had a typo in here I'm deleting. Google that, but make sure you Google "It Never Rains in Southern California," comma, and any way you spell Tony is correct. Because the group that sang that song best is a group called Tony, Tony, Tony. They're from the 80s and 90s. They're like grandparents now. And they're phenomenal. And it's Tony spelled 3 different ways. Because I believe it's 3 African-American gentlemen who are named Tony. Don't quote me on that. Unbelievable song. In any case, here we go. Phase 1 is putting on pushing musculature. We want to do this for several mesocycles, which means like 2 to 4 months. Why? Because it takes 2 to 4 months to add an appreciable amount of muscle size to your frame, appreciable enough that it actually reflects itself in increased push-up performance. Like if you're sitting in the second seat, the back seat of a fighter plane, center stick, not an F-22, and you're like, hey, can we go faster? Like a pilot's, riding you around, he's not going to be like, oh yeah, take the throttle and go like, just push it up a little. You're like, I guess technically that's faster. You don't want to do a bunch of training and be like, hey, I hit a push-up PR by half a rep. You want to be able to like PR by a few reps or more, which means you're going to need more muscle to do that. Like we don't want to take your 6-cylinder engine and construct half a cylinder and be like, oh, there you go. It's a smaller cylinder. It adds power, but a little bit. We want to get 2 more cylinders in there, make it a real V8. So it's going to take a couple months. Again, if you're like, dude, fuck all this couple of months bullshit. I got to get to push-ups now. We have at least 2 other push-up videos about how to get better at push-ups fast. And this ain't one of them. So if you're in for the long haul, this is sweet. Then you're good for it anyway. During this time, you're going to focus on exercises that add a lot of muscle to the chest, shoulder, and triceps, and do it not in a way that is exactly related to push-up, but at least hit similar muscles from some similar directions. Not all, because we need to keep variation high early in this plan, because as we go through the plan, our variation is going to go down. The different kinds of exercises we're going to use are going to look more and more and more like push-ups until they're kind of just push-ups. Standard periodization model. So you're going to be doing bench presses, dumbbell presses, deficit push-ups, skull crushers. Other tricep work like dips and pushdowns apply as well. Pec flies and skull crusher push-ups for the very advanced is a consideration I would give to you. And that's demonstrated in one of our push-up videos. It's when you have a close grip on a push-up, and instead of using your chest and triceps to push up, you leverage yourself back so that you push with your face between your hands, and then you extend. It's a skull crusher, like the equivalent of what a push-up is to the bench press. This is that equivalent to a skull crusher. It's ruthless. You're sure as hell doing a lot of push-ups if you can do one of these, but it's a great assistance exercise to help you increase the muscularity of your triceps, which will not directly make you good at push-ups, but later when we reteach that muscle how to do push-ups, it'll be a lot better because it's going to be bigger. This part of the plan is very similar for people of all levels, because remember, we have 3 levels: folks that are struggling to do their first couple push-ups, even their first, folks that are in like that 15 range or so, and then people that are in the 30s, 40s, 50s plus. And it works for all of them because you need more muscle to do more push-ups no matter what. Now, if you're doing 80 push-ups in a row, more muscle might not help you much because you're kind of in an endurance sport, but we're going to scoot those people aside and say, good job, you're doing well anyway. Maybe someday I'll make a video for people who want to do hundreds of push-ups. We can call it 300 push-ups tomorrow. Fucking sell my soul for this bullshit clickbait. In any case. All right. So this phase is similar for everyone. And it looks something like this. This is a sample plan. I'm not going to talk about it much because I could just read off the fucking screen, or I can let you guys do it. So feel free to pause the shit. Take a look at it. What you're going to notice is it's 4 days a week of pushing. Mostly sets of 5 to 15, 5 to 20 reps. That's going to build a lot of muscle size in the chest and shoulders and triceps. And it's lots of variation. That's one of the ways that you can train so often is the volumes are pretty small per session. It's only 2 exercises at a time. And the variation is so high that you're kind of doing something different every session, which means there's no super high risks just burning completely out. Now, for full disclosure, I can't do this because my muscles take longer to heal. So I might be able to do this like 2 or 3 times a week, but you can do it up to 4 times a week. And if you're responsive, this is great. There are no set numbers next to these because set numbers are individual based on, can you recover by the next time you're doing this? If you can, and easily, add a set here or there. If you can't, take a set away or keep it stable. It's just that simple. Ideally, you want to recover just on time. So for example, if you got the Tuesday workout and the Thursday workout, after the Tuesday workout, Wednesday, you should kind of be like, ooh, pec's a little tender, triceps a little tired. And then Thursday, you should be like, all right, man, I'm fucking golden. I'm super strong. That's how you determine volume. Super easy. All right. Now, let's say everyone got through phase 1, which took a few months, and everyone has bigger chest, shoulders, and triceps. The muscles critical to being able to do push-ups. Phase 2 is going to look a little bit different for how strong you are. First one we're going to talk about is phase 2 for folks that can do between 0 and 4 total push-ups, which is a big deal. Like doing your first push-up or getting 3 or 4 push-ups as opposed to last time you tried, you just could get 1. Man, that's arguably like way more relatively impressive in the soul than it is like, you know, to go from 15 to 16 or something like that, right? So first, you are going to design a plan that makes your muscles better at the target rep range you eventually want to hone in on. So for these folks, it's going to be a lot of sets of 3 to 6 reps, sets of even 1 to 2 reps now on occasion, because that's what you want to get really good at. You're still going to use plenty of variation, and you're going to approach the target rep range from both above and below. which means some days of the week during this plan, let's say you're really gearing in to do 5 push-up reps. As an example, it says 0 to 4 push-up, 3 push-up reps. Some days of the week, maybe one day of the week, you'll be doing lots of sets of 1 to 2 push-ups, maybe heavy, maybe loaded, maybe a little bit harder, maybe to a deficit, tougher than normal. And then another time, you're going to be doing maybe sets of 5 or 6 push-ups, which is a little lower, a little higher. And then maybe you'll have one day of the week which hits close to that target. That way, it keeps staleness down, because like just trying to do sets of 3 all the time will burn you the fuck out, guaranteed. But it keeps you so close to the actual thing that you want that it's all Gucci, and you're going to get a really good training response and eventually bring yourself to a state where you're ready to peak and really show off. Additionally, the exercises included in this phase versus the last phase, phase 1, would you do an exercise that kind of maybe sort of resemble the push-ups a little, hit some of the same muscles? But this phase now was more seriously looking at like stuff like, okay, how much like a push-up is this? Getting it a little bit more specificity to push-ups. Even so much as reintroducing push-ups themselves. One big thing you'll notice is that, go back to that plan here. If you look at the plan from the last slide, there actually is very little actual push-ups being done. As a matter of fact, 0. The closest thing is on Thursday, there's a deficit weighted push-up. But a deficit push-up is different than a regular push-up. It stops at a different point. The total duration of the push-up is different. Where your muscles are taught to re-engage and push back up versus slowing the eccentric is different as well. So we're really getting away from push-ups altogether. And now we're going to start reintroducing them. At least exercises that look a lot like them, deficits and partial push-ups, but definitely a chance to do push-ups themselves. We're for sure going to do lots of push-ups themselves in phase 3, the peaking phase, but we're going to save that for just a little while from now. One of the big benefits of leaving push-ups the hell out of that first few phases is it really allows you to reduce the staleness and also the psychological toughness of push-ups. Because if you've been stuck at a lift for a long time, a specific lift, call it push-ups, call it pull-ups, call it low bar squats, doing that lift is psychologically fucking awful, because you're like, here I go, being fucking weak again, not hitting PRs again. But a lot of times you've trained that lift so much, trying to get it to go up, which is smart on your part because specificity is a big deal. You end up just kind of overreaching on that lift, and it becomes really stale for you, and it just aggravates you physically, psychologically. So by moving away from it, you can really, really, really build some awesome muscle, while at the same time making that lift, in this case the push-up, super fresh when you come back. And as you guys all know, newbie gains are a real thing. So if you're making fresh push-up gains with now bigger muscles, that's a fucking big deal. All right, phase 2 for the folks able to do 0 to 4 push-ups currently and want to do a few more. On Monday, you'll see that we are going heavy in bench press, which is unrelated. And on Wednesday, we're going heavy in knee push-ups to a really big deficit. On top of that, we are doing some lighter work after all of those. Could we go high and low like we will with the other groups of folks? Yes. The thing is, 0 to 4 reps, there's not much to be gained from going low, because it's just super stressful, low volume max attempts. So most of the folks that are in that 0 to 4 push-up group, they need a bit more repetitions and volume, simply because it will add more muscle mass and continue to add muscle mass even through this phase, and give them lots of practice at these push-up and pressing movements. You'll notice a big thing is that the volume is lower because the overall frequency is lower. This is harder training now, much more focused training, and they're stronger and bigger from their last phase. It's 3 days a week, and Friday you'll see there's only skull crushers because we want to give the chest and shoulders a little bit of a break so you can come back fresh next Monday and hit bigger and bigger numbers. Phase 2 for folks that can do sets of 5 to 10 push-ups and want to do more, like maybe 15 or something like that. Still exactly the same approach as for the other folks, except much more of a distinct high-low pattern, which means if you look at the sample plan, on Mondays, these folks will do sets of 3 to 6 reps. That's lower than 5 to 10 on average if you keep in count. And then on Wednesday, these individuals will do some other work that's in sets of 10 to 15. So we got a low and we got a high. Friday, if you're good at guessing, it's sets of 5 to 10 actual push-ups at 1 to 2 reps in reserve, and it's competition style / cadence, which means you are pretending that there is a video camera and a whatever stopwatch or a metronome and someone's counting. You do the push-ups exactly like you plan to do them in competition, which means no bullshit, no intentionally slower eccentrics, boop, 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 boop. However you do competition push-ups, that's how you want to do them, because here begins 2 things. One, great, like we got low, we got high, we got right in the middle. So we check, that's the middle, 5 to 10. But also, we're getting ready to really configure our abilities for push-ups specifically. And of course, after that, we'll do some skull crushers and get the fuck out. That's not a very hard day, Friday. It's a little bit more of a stimulus. Drop some fatigue for the low volume and sharpen the tip of our spear a little bit more for push-ups every single week. Now, folks who are in that 30 plus range, like I said earlier, 30 is just a kind of a placeholder for really high reps. You can do anywhere between 10 and 50 plus reps, and all these upcoming examples work. Again, the basic outline is the same. You're going to design a plan that hits into that target rep range, a little bit above, a little bit below, right at. We're going to be doing a little bit more specific training and more push-up-like movements, including push-ups themselves. So on Monday is our slightly heavier day for these folks, sets of 10 to 20, 15 to 20. And on Wednesday, it's sets of 15 to 20 and 30 to 40. So we're going over what we typically do. And then on Friday, we have a more challenging version than a regular push-up. So it's a deficit push-up for sets of 15 to 20, which will buck you up really bad. And skull crushers are now for sets of 30 to 40 repetitions. Why? Well, because you need triceps endurance to do lots of push-ups. And triceps endurance with high repetition skull crushers, that's just how you get the job done. Is it going to suck? Yes. Are people going to be confused looking at you? Yes. Is it going to hurt? Oh, yes. Are you going to get to a place where you're doing push-ups and your triceps aren't cramping anymore? Absolutely, which is great. All right. Lastly is peaking. Peaking is about building a plan that gets you the performance you want when you want it. Because nobody gives a shit if you did XYZ push-ups unless it's on TikTok. And if you can do more reps than the TikTok video limit allows, you win TikTok. Your gift is the Chinese government takes over your life. Maybe I'm kidding. Maybe I'm not. In any case, if you want to take this really seriously, and I suppose, yes, you do, because here you are watching this video about very seriously taking push-ups, you want to take about 4 weeks total, including your last week just before you test the push-ups. And generally speaking, these peaks are going to look like, if you're between 0 and 4 reps for push-ups, you're going to peak a lot like a power lifter does. If you're in that 5 to 10 range, you'll peak more like a strongman, so you could do like 15 reps or something. And if you're in the 10 plus range, which means like shit, out there in the 30s, you will have an interesting peak that looks a bit different than most of the stuff you've seen before. But the common core, because you may not want to use these sample programs, you may want to make your own program, which is almost always a better idea. So intellectually, you want to know what the common core is for what peaking looks like for all of these things. And here it is. First, as the competition gets closer, you're removing less specific work. You're going to do some dumbbell presses and flies and all that other stuff early, potentially. But as you get closer to peaking, it's just kind of whittles down to mostly just push-ups, because your body has really to get good at only push-ups. And all of the really great qualities about the other movements you're doing, they are adaptations that you can keep for weeks on end without training them much, which is sweet, because then you can train the only very thing you need and allow all of your resources to go to it. Second thing is you're going to be reducing RIRs, reducing reps in reserve, which means going closer and closer and closer to your limits. Then you rest a little bit and then go all the way to your limits. Makes sense, because you have to adapt in such a way, like you can't just do all your push-up sets 5 reps away from failure and be like, yeah, like I'm doing enough volume, I'll get good at these. You will get good. But a lot of the getting good of peaking is learning how to grind in that last few reps. And the only way you're going to learn how to grind in the best way possible is fucking grinding. So you get a little bit more grindy towards the end, no matter the reps you're doing. And lastly, you want to reduce kind of end run fatigue. One of the reasons why we pull out a bunch of exercises that are unrelated is because we don't need them anymore. Another reason is because everything we got out of them, we now can put into push-ups. Another reason is, well, we want to limit the amount of fatigue they cause and increase the amount of training we can do for push-ups themselves. And the last reason is we just want that whole system's fatigue to come down so that when you're in that last session and you're testing your push-ups, you feel spry as fuck. You don't want to come into a testing session for push-ups and someone's like, hey, how's your training been? And you're like, amazing, bro. I'm fucking ready. And they're like, are you? You're like, not really. I'm sore as fucking tired of shit. I hate push-ups. Oh, interesting. That sucks. You don't want to do that. You want to come into a situation where you've reduced the volume substantially such that when it's time to do push-ups and test, you can't fucking wait to do a bunch of push-ups. So peaking sample for 0 to 4 push-ups is right there. I'm not going to describe the whole thing because that would be preposterously long. What I will say is this. You'll see here things like deficit push-up on the eccentric, knee on the concentric. Let me tell you what that is. You do a deficit push-up, which means you put your hands on mats and there's space in between, and you go below where your chest is, nice and deep, big stretch, 2 or 3 or even 4 inches below. And I know something about that small a number of inches. Hey. I was going to say, I hope your kids weren't around to hear that. But then again, what do they know we're talking about? In any case, you're doing a normal push-up off the feet, super deep. And then when you get down on your knees, which you're probably used to from your day job, and you push up off your knees, which is easy. But that allows you to get a huge eccentric destruction, but then still come up. You get all the benefits of a full range of motion eccentric phase specific to what you'll be doing in the actual testing the push-ups, but you may not be able to come up concentrically from a deep push-up because you can only do 0 to 4 push-ups at this point. So this makes it a very, very good tool for that. We got a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing, and then we have some modifiers as to what to do in the last week. For example, if you scroll all the way down to Friday, you'll notice that you just do 1 set of competition-style push-ups that last Friday. What? Why am I even going to the gym? Because that 1 set gives you practice, like an athlete, nervous system practice and metabolic stuff in order to get you to basically just not get any worse at push-ups. But because you're doing so little work, your fatigue is falling down such that when you come in next Tuesday, notice extra day, normally you would train Monday, Wednesday, Friday in this plan. You come in on Tuesday. Why? That extra day gives you an extra break. And the last thing you did was Friday, you did like 1 fucking set of some shit. And there is a flat press machine in here that you also do on most Fridays that you don't do anymore on that Friday. You literally come in and do 1 set of push-ups. And then you come back Tuesday and do warming up and do your big set. Okay. Right there, just over to my Scott the video guy. Is that where the shit appears?
Yeah.
Excellent. I was here the whole time. You're going to want to make sure to take a nice warm up, and that's detailed right below. Do not just come in and start doing push-ups. Warm it up because you get 1 try at this thing. I mean, technically you could try it every other day, but you get 1 good, solid, fucking decent try at this. You want to be nice and warmed up. Next, sample plan for folks that can do sets of 5 to 10, 5 to 15 push-ups and want to do a few more. You'll notice a similar structure, a few differences. Again, there's that removal of shit in the last week. It's a really big deal. Feel free to pause this and really take a look at it. Screenshot it on your phone, copy it down, use it yourself, no problem. Just give me all the credit. I just want all the credit for everything you've ever done. Is that too much to ask? Like shit like, oh, hey, got this RP strength push-up thing and I did 5 more push-ups and I asked my wife to marry her and I won a new car and a sweepstakes and it's all thanks to Dr. Mike. He's great. He did it all. He has friends. That last one's a hard sell, but try that. See how much you can give me credit for shit. Phase 3 for folks doing crazy push-ups is intense. there is a lot going on. One thing you will see that is going on is on Monday, we have a very tissue disruptive day. There is deficit push-ups, which fuck you up. There's competition style push-ups, which fuck you up because you're so good at them now. You can do a lot and really get tired. And there's a crap load of skull crushers with a whole shitload of volume. On Wednesday, you will notice that you actually just go to mats to a partial push-up and you save a lot of fatigue. Most of the fatigue in push-ups comes at this bottom stretch, also most of the benefit. So think of Monday as a big day to push some gains. Wednesday is a day to take it a little bit easier. And then Friday is like a mini test day. Now you will do some flat machine pressing after, blah, blah, blah. But you do sets of 3 to 0 RIR in every single week. You chop off a rep in reserve. And of course, it's just one set in the last week. And that last week set, you cap at 3 to 5 reps in reserve. The last week is super easy, but you basically have the structure where Mondays are really tough. Some of Monday's fatigue will carry over into Wednesday. Wednesday's much easier. And then Friday, you generally feel pretty fucking good, which is sweet because Friday is when you're kind of going to start to get close to your show up. And the first thing you do is sets of competition style push-ups. So in this peaking style, another benefit is it's not just like, hey, do these weird sciencey things and then hopefully you're good at push-ups. Kind of every Friday you find out where you are. If you're like, wow, that was like 2 reps in reserve and I hit 42 push-ups, like, fuck man, I'm PRing already. This is great. You're certainly going to have an idea of how things go. But here's the really cool benefit of this kind of system. The Friday is tougher. Sorry, Monday's tougher. Wednesday is easier. The last week, Monday's still pretty tough. Wednesday's pretty easy. Friday is super fucking easy. And then you don't compete, show off, until next Tuesday. That means that by the time you get to next Tuesday, you are going to be so fresh and so limber and so fucking ready to do push-ups physically and psychologically, because it's going to be like almost a week since you kind of trained push-ups or anything remotely chest tricep hard. Promise you, you're going to be like, oh, I can't wait. I'm going to be on the bus going to the gym. Some old lady's going to bump into you, the usual. She's like, sorry, Sonny. You're like, fuck, bitch, I had to push you up. Don't do that. You'll go to jail. But in any case, think it before you show up to the gym. All right. Last thing, I'm not going to read it out loud. Catch that bottom of how to warm up for push-ups if you're in this position. It's a little wacky, but it works. Hey, that's kind of my advice on everything. In any case, here's the thing. What can you expect doing all this as far as typical results? Well, you're going to expect to do a lot of work because a lot of work is required to make the kind of changes that you have to make if you're in a position where making change is difficult. And you are. That's why you're watching this video. If I was like, hey, the easy changes, we wouldn't say any of this stuff about hard work. In addition to this, I want you to be super attentive to modifying the plan on volume and frequency. That is, how many sets per session you do and how many sessions you do per week based on how your body responds, which is to say performance. If you notice, if you do push-ups 3 times a week, you just tend to make better gains than if you do them 4 times a week or any kind of pushing workout. 4 is too much. If you notice that you've done 2 and it's worked okay, but you add a 3rd and it works way better, 3 is better. The one is soreness. We want to make sure that almost in every case, except for that last thing I described where Monday is really hard and Wednesday is pretty easy, you want to just not be sore, or at least very sore in the pecs and shoulders and triceps before you begin your next push-up workout. If you are getting too sore, there's 2 ways to fix it. The best way to fix it is just do less volume. Last time you did 5 sets of pushing stuff and you got sore. Monday you did 5 sets of pushing stuff. You're still sore Wednesday. Do 4 sets next time. Do 3 sets next time. All the sets will add up, I promise. You want to show up ready to roll for all of your workouts. The other way is to say, look, okay, I'm doing some kind of push training 4 days a week, and I'd have to do like half a set to not get tired and sore for my next workout. Well, then fuck that. Fuck the 4. Just go to 3 or 2, and it seems like you just take a little bit longer to recover. Later, you could start to get much better at recovery and add a session, no problem. Just be mindful of that. Sometimes there's not a whole lot of volume moving you can do. You're just training too goddamn often. There is no golden set number. How many sets should I do? is a question that has no answer except for the best possible answer, which is how many sets can you get a decent stimulus from and also recover on time? Really kind of the same thing. If you can show up every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example, your chest, shoulders, and triceps pretty healed up or ready to go hard again, that's the amount of volume that's probably very close to being best for you. If someone's like, nah, man, 10 sets and everything is great, and you do that, except you show up sore and tired and more tired every single day for 2 weeks, you're going to have a bad time. On the other hand, if someone's like, man, it's all about one set. I read the science article and it said once your first set's your best sets, just do just first sets only, bro. Just one set every day. And you're like, all right, you do it. And you're like, it was a warm up. That's it. That's it, man. You're going to get strong as hell. You come back a bunch of weeks in a row doing one set and you're like, I think I'm getting smaller and weaker. Like, oh, it's not enough of a stimulus. So don't follow the pack. Don't follow the trend on this. Start out with a small amount of volume, just a few sets of everything. If you're recovering really well and on time, add a little bit. If you're recovering way, way ahead of time, add a little bit. You might have to do that a few times, but if you're really pushing the recovery boundary, you're feeling a little bit tired day to day and a little bit sore, do less. Folks, I'm going to say this once, but I'll probably say it a bunch more. Doing less is something that we in the iron culture, so to speak, are afraid to do. But we're insulting our own intelligence, because if your system is maxed out in adaptive capacity here, and you're like, fuck doing less, bro, and you do this much, you're a fucking moron, and you're overstressing the system, and you will get worse. Period. It's okay to do less, as long as you're not bullshitting yourself and just being lazy. But the good thing is, it's really easy to figure that out. You know when you're being a fucking, I was going to say another really, really bad word. Starts with a C, and it's something women say to each other when they're very upset. Don't be that. Be honest with yourself and do as much volume as hits that little Goldilocks middle of the road zone of solid, good workout, but I can still recover for next time. And don't put any value judgments on it. You're going to want to compare, like how many sets do you do? You know, random gym friend. It's cool to know, but at the end of the day, who gives a shit, because you have two different bodies. Unless you have the same body. That sounds cool. Like twins, maybe? Oh no, you're two consciousnesses in the same body? Weird. Would you touch yourself? I'm going to stop. This is not that kind of channel. All right. Doing this, it is possible within, 4 to 8 months, half a year or so, to put like 5 reps or more on your push-ups. I know that is not crazy, but you're here because everything else didn't work. You're here because 6 months ago, you had the same push-up PR as you do now, or better, or like you PR'd by 1 rep in the last 6 months. So if this is not impressive to you, do something else. Go type in Dr. Mike push-ups, enter on the YouTube search, and then we have a shitload of videos on how to do that. If you do need this, then you could be in a position where it will work as well as it does, right? And as usual, the verbatim stuff of where I put bench and skull crushers and this and that Monday, Thursday, that all makes sense in the context of a hypothetical plan applied to, some random lifter. But you're not a random lifter, and you're sure as hell not hypothetical. You're a real person, and what you have to do is take the concepts away, like the idea that a peaking phase tapers down, the idea that you first build muscle, then get good at the thing, then peak. Those are the concepts I want you guys to take away from this, so that you not only can build your own push-up to perfection plan, but let's say one day you're working out at the gym and this gorgeous, Scott's video guy, give me a hair color.
Blonde, obviously.
Blonde, Jesus. Boring. This gorgeous blonde, just living her life. Her hair is fucking doing this, doing that. Just tons of hair. Like a Super Saiyan, except down. Like to her knees. This is getting weird. Anyway, she walks in and she's like, hey, can you help me do more push-ups, or do I have to fuck somebody else to do it? And you're like, wait, I know how to do this because I've seen that stupid Dr. Mike video where he makes weird analogies at the end. Does he have a problem? Is he not getting laid at home? See you guys next time.